Welcome to Skytech-Lens. In a stunning reversal, President Trump has abandoned his long-touted vision of total American energy independence, a stance he once promoted as a cornerstone of his administration's policy. Once dismissive of Canadian oil, he now champions the revival of the Keystone XL pipeline, blaming its cancellation for America's energy woes and the surge in rising fuel prices that have hit consumers hard. On Truth Social, Trump frames Canadian oil as essential to U.S. economic health, arguing it will lower gas prices, create jobs, and secure a stable supply from a friendly neighbor to the north. This pivot is less about ideology and more about the harsh realities of supply and demand, revealing that American energy independence was always more slogan than substance, especially in today's global market. Both Canadian and U.S. officials now recognize that the two nations' energy sectors are deeply intertwined, regardless of political rhetoric or shifting priorities in Washington. Trump's America First doctrine has always promised energy self-sufficiency, but the reality is far more complex. The U.S. is a top oil producer, yet its refineries are built for the heavy crude Canada supplies. Trump's push to revive Keystone XL while imposing tariffs exposes the contradiction. He needs Canadian oil even as he claims otherwise. The administration's two-tiered tariff, 25% on most Canadian goods, but only 10% on energy, admits this dependency. America First must bend to the integrated North American energy system. No country, not even the U.S., can operate in a vacuum. Slogans can't untangle the web of economic interdependence. The current predicament is a real-time lesson in the limits of political rhetoric. Keystone XL has always been more than a pipeline. It's a symbol of North America's energy and environmental battles. Proposed in 2008, it promised jobs and economic stimulus, while supporters argued it would secure U.S. energy from a stable ally. Opponents, including environmentalists and indigenous groups, warned of catastrophic spills and the climate impact of carbon-heavy oil sands. The pipeline's route threatened sensitive ecosystems and vital water supplies, fueling fierce resistance. Its cancellation in 2021 was a major climate victory, but talk of revival now faces immense legal, financial, and political hurdles. The debate over Keystone XL remains a flashpoint in the continent's struggle between energy security and environmental responsibility. In February 2025, Trump stunned the world by slapping a 25% tariff on most Canadian and Mexican imports, citing unfair trade practices. The move rattled markets and threatened decades of economic integration. Trump's rhetoric toward Canada grew hostile, even suggesting it become the 51st state. Yet, energy products received only a 10% tariff, a tacit admission of U.S. dependence on Canadian oil. This exception was pragmatic. A higher tariff would have sent U.S. gas prices soaring. While big oil exporters adapted, smaller Canadian businesses were devastated by the broader tariffs. The result? Chaos, uncertainty, and pain for many North American industries. Canada hit back fast and hard, unveiling $155 billion in retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. The first phase targeted American agricultural staples and iconic brands, aiming to pressure Trump's political base. Weeks later, Canada escalated, slapping tariffs on U.S. cars, aerospace, and more farm products. The message: Canada would absorb pain to defend its interests. Ottawa also threatened to restrict exports of critical minerals and ban U.S. firms from government contracts. These moves signaled Canada's readiness for a prolonged fight, using every economic lever available. The trade war quickly became a high-stakes game of economic brinkmanship. Both sides braced for a long, costly standoff. Despite political bluster, Canada is by far America's top foreign energy supplier. Over 4 million barrels of Canadian crude cross the border daily, about 60% of U.S. oil imports. U.S. refineries are built for Canada's heavy crude. Switching sources would be costly and slow. Even as U.S. production grows, the need for Canadian oil remains constant. Trump's lighter 10% energy tariff reflects this reality. Anything higher would spike U.S. fuel prices and trigger political backlash. If Canada restricted oil exports, the U.S. would face an immediate energy crisis. The interdependence is so deep that any disruption would hurt both economies, but the U.S. would suffer most. The trade war has sparked a personal feud between Trump and Trudeau. Trump's social media attacks, calling Canada a freeloader and floating the idea of it becoming a U.S. state, have outraged Canadians and poisoned diplomacy. Trudeau, in contrast, has responded with measured defiance, vowing not to be bullied and framing the dispute as a fight for Canadian sovereignty. The leaders' clashing styles have deepened the rift, replacing decades of partnership with open hostility. Trudeau has sought international support while Trump doubles down on unilateralism. The war of words has eroded trust and made compromise harder. The US-Canada relationship is now at its lowest point in generations. The trade war has dramatically reshaped the political landscape in both countries, sparking heated debates and shifting alliances. In Canada, Trump's tariffs have united political rivals, with both major parties vowing to stand firm, defend Canadian interests, and diversify away from the US market. Public outrage has fueled a rare sense of national unity, even as small businesses struggle with lost access to the American market and face mounting uncertainty. In the US, support for tariffs is split. Trump's base cheers loudly, but farmers and manufacturers hit by Canadian retaliation are growing increasingly restless and frustrated. Democrats and some Republicans warn the trade war is self-defeating, pointing to rising prices, supply chain chaos, and growing economic uncertainty. The Keystone XL debate has reignited, with environmentalists mobilizing against any revival and calling for a shift to cleaner energy. Economic pain is testing political loyalties and patience on both sides of the border, straining relationships and trust. The conflict has left both nations anxious, divided, and searching for a path forward in uncertain times. As autumn 2025 unfolds, the US-Canada relationship teeters on the edge, with uncertainty clouding every negotiation and decision. The trade war could escalate further, with Canada threatening to restrict critical minerals or even oil exports, moves that would devastate the US economy and send shockwaves through global markets. Canada is racing to diversify its trade, expanding the Trans Mountain Pipeline to reach Asian markets and reduce its reliance on the US for energy exports. The Keystone XL debate remains a political flashpoint, symbolizing the ongoing clash between energy security and urgent climate action. A negotiated settlement is possible if economic pain forces compromise, but a permanent rift between the two nations is just as likely if tensions persist. The trust that once defined North America's partnership has been badly damaged, leaving both sides wary of each other's next move. The choices made now will determine whether the continent's most successful alliance can be salvaged, or if it fractures under the weight of protectionism, political strife, and growing uncertainty. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel for updates. Thanks.